Alrighty, students, this is a little bit of a tutorial video to show you exactly what I want from your fourth and final paper. I think we pretty much figured out what we need by now, but the reason why I'm doing this video for you guys is because I've been getting some emails from some of you that are confused about something that makes a lot of sense for you to be confused about. There are two D.R.E.A.M acts. There is the federal one that was a bill that did not pass that is not law. And then there is the Texas D.R.E.A.M Act that was passed in 2001. Texas was the first state to pass this bill, and it has been in effect since 2001. And that is the one that you are going to reference. So any of you that have written on the discussion board any kind of reference to the federal law, I have commented on each and every one of your discussion board posts. If you got everything right, I just gave you 100, and maybe I said good, maybe I said perfect, maybe I didn't. But if there was something wrong or something that you need to pay attention to, I left you a note underneath your post on the discussion board. There were a couple things on the discussion board that were concerning to me. The first was, let's make sure we understand the difference between the failed federal bill and the actual Texas law. If you notice, this template is the same as all your other templates. This is the fourth paper that you've had, and it is a lot like the first paper. So if you have any trouble with it, or you've had trouble with the paper since, you might want to go back to that first video that I posted for you guys back in January or early February that tells you how to do these. Summarize the current Texas law on the topic. This is not your opinion, but what the policy actually states. So the first thing I want to know, you guys are, for your citations on the discussion board, you have told me that the D.R.E.A.M Act is a Texas law, very good, Texas not federal, is a Texas law that extends in-state tuition regardless of illegal immigrant status. That is correct. However, it is not completely correct. So what I'm going to need to know here, guys, are the provisions. Remember, same thing with your death penalty paper, where I said, okay, well, what counts as a capital crime? So I need to know, there are several provisions that have to be met for somebody who is an illegal immigrant to get in-state tuition in Texas. You don't just have to be a graduate of a Texas school. You have to have 3 years of residency. So make sure you'll only get half of this section correct, guys, unless you state the provisions. So I need you here to remember to state the penal code for the Texas law. So let's go find that together. Let's go to Google real quick. Now, Texas D.R.E.A.M Act. A lot of you guys, also something that concerns me, is you are quoting this. This is not the Texas statute website. Remember how in your first paper, second paper, third paper, and now, of course, in your fourth paper, nothing has changed. I want the citation, the actual statute, not a third-party website. Also, people have been citing Tribune, TT as if that's an author's name. T for the, T for Texas, and no date. If there's no date and no author, guys, it is not a source. This does not count as a source. You know that you have to state the actual Texas law. And where do we get the actual Texas law, y'all? We get it from Texas Legislature Online. And in every text of a bill, it tells you what statute, what part of the code it is going to amend, what part of the education code, what part of the penal code. And you always want to go down here, remember, to enrolled, because the introduced bill very rarely is what ends up being adopted. The final bill is the one after all these amendments. So let's go. So it's House Bill 1403. So it tells you, Section 1 of the Education Code. This tells you what it is. Let's go ahead and here's your statute, guys. Da, da, da. Cite this like you've cited everything else. Of course, you don't put the link in there. You put the actual state code, just like you did with, just like I showed you how to do with the first paper, just how you did with the marijuana and just how you did with the death penalty. So there is the current Texas law. And the current Texas law explains tuition and fees. There's a residency requirement here. Tuition rate set by the governing board. Go ahead and look on that. Now, so that's part A. So for section 1, you know where to get everything you need from section 1 that tells you what the D.R.E.A.M Act is and what it does. Where else can you get it? Guys, you can get it from this policy analysis section. You either go to the, if this was a House bill, that's where it started. It started as a House bill and it had a Senate companion. So it started out as House Bill 1403. It will always be known as 1403. So let's go to the engrossed House analysis, bill analysis by D.R.E.A.M. So there is to your site, D.R.E.A.M, and the year, of course, was 2001. So this tells you, section by section, rulemaking authority, digest, and purpose. What is the second section of your paper, guys? Intent. So what is the purpose of the Texas law? For this, cite the bill analysis that tells you the purpose of the Texas law. They don't think that a child's origin or immigration status should prevent access to primary and secondary schools, and so they don't think that it should affect their access to college. So, oh, and here are the provisions. They graduated from a Texas high school or received a GED, meets minimum residency and registration criteria. You need to tell me what those are, by the way. So there you go. It's got a date and everything. So you know where to find this section. Now let's talk about consequences of the Texas policy. Guys, do not get caught up in analyses of the federal bill that did not pass. The federal bill that did not pass is not the consequences in Texas. So you want to look at consequences of the Texas D.R.E.A.M Act. Also, another problem that I've noticed with some of your sources that you have been putting on the discussion board, opinions are not research. So a certain percentage wants to keep the law, a certain percentage wants to get rid of it. Guys, something is not objectively good or bad based on opinion. So because people can hate something that fulfills its purpose, and they can love something that doesn't fulfill its purpose. So when you talk about just, okay, this many people like it, this many people don't, well, that doesn't answer the question of, does it do what it's supposed to do? So here is First Day D.R.E.A.M Act. Here is a scholarly source, Flores, 2010. And remember, guys, for something to be a consequence, it has to happen after the law was passed. So consequences for the D.R.E.A.M Act in Texas have to be after 2001. So this fits the bill. So there's an example. You can find stories of people that are have benefited from it. So you guys know where to find this, but make sure you don't cite the federal law. You cite the Texas law. Now, where all that federal research will come in handy, cite the bill analysis, engrossed version. Okay. So you guys know how to do this, but make sure you realize that opinions are not research. Okay, so people want to roll it back. Well, so what? That doesn't, people want to get rid of it. Do they want to get rid of it because it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, there's evidence of why it doesn't work. They could just want to get rid of it because it doesn't go with their ideology. Or people want to keep it. Maybe they want to keep it not because it works, but because it goes with their ideology. You can't know. Research is numbers and not numbers about opinions. Now, Texas policy compared to other states. This is where all that federal research comes in. States with a D.R.E.A.M Act pass. This is old, unfortunately. So this is a little, legislatures meet sometimes annually, sometimes biennially. That's 7 years old. That is not going to work. I want to, within the last year. So 2015. In-state tuition laws, 2009. So you'll have to look for in 5. Here's one. And then you're going to want to put in this section to be correct. I'm going to have to go out and look at this to make sure that I'm grading you correctly. You're going to have to put in this section to be correct as of a date within the last 2 years. So as of 2016 or as of 2015, that's fine too. Number of states with a law similar to Texas. And then I want you to compare and contrast 1 or 2 states here. And then the conclusion, guys, per normal, is your opinion based on research, okay? So that's really all there is. It's very similar to everything in the past. Things to check for. If there's no author and no date, it is not a source, it does not count. If you cite something that is not a source and does not count, you will lose section for that. You will lose credit for that section where you cited that. Consequences of the Texas policy. A consequence has to happen after the Texas policy was passed. The consequences cannot be predictions of what would happen if the federal law had passed. That is not a consequence of the Texas law. A consequence is not a prediction, even if it's a number, because numbers are researched. If it's a prediction, it's not a consequence. So your section 3 needs to cite Texas law and needs to give me more than opinions. And you will lose credit if you just say, you know, Jonathan Stickland is trying to roll back the bill. Okay, well, so what? That's not research. Tell me how many people have benefited from this bill. Has it done what it's supposed to do? Then down here, I need the number of states. It has to be relatively recent, within the last couple of years. And I need you to compare and contrast. And then the conclusion is just your conclusion. So you guys know how to do it. This is your 4th and final paper, so by this point I know you know how to do it. If you get a chance to have watched this, which you're watching it right now, I anticipate you have everything you need to ace this paper. Most of you are acing these papers. So, alrighty, this is Dr. Harvey signing off. Bye, y'all.